Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom and pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Andrew Howell lives in Winter Garden, Florida, where he operates 18 Tropical Smoothie Cafes with 5 in development and 6 licenses more to open. He's currently the Franchisee of the Year for Tropical Smoothie Cafe and is working toward his executive MBA from the University of Central Florida. He's passionate about travel and culture and is working to see the 7 wonders of the world. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hey, so you're president of a group of concepts called Amazing Brandz, Brandz.
Yes.
Kind of tell me what that is and how it came together.
So, kind of a, I guess, semi-long story here. So I had opened up a tropical smoothie in Orlando, and then my father had opened up stores down in Fort Myers. And as we were both growing, we decided to merge. We created Amazing Brandz and have since grown from there. So we're a duo on it.
Okay, great. So tell me a little bit about Tropical Smoothie Cafe. What can a customer kind of expect when you go there?
So it's smoothies, flatbreads, wraps, sandwiches. We now have quesadillas on the menu. So it's a healthy option. We look for we call them healthy hopefuls, the people that are trying to be healthier, that want to get away from your burgers and French fries and want to eat better and feel healthier and live a better life. And it's good to know that we're selling products that make people overall live better.
Sure. You opened your first one, I believe, in October of 2012. What had you been doing up to that point?
So we signed the contracts in October of 2012. We didn't get open until July of 2013. It was
gotcha.
a long process with leasing and everything.
Sure. What had you been doing up to that point prior to opening?
So prior to that, I worked for some logistics with Disney. I worked for Hilton for a little bit. I was with Disney for a little while in operations right after college. So out of college, a couple of years. Yeah.
What led you to kind of becoming a franchisee then?
Well, my dad was in franchising since I was a child. So he's going on 38 something years in franchising. Obviously, seeing that, I wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. We went to a franchise show, figured out what was a brand that fit me. And at the time, Tropical Smoothie Cafe was around 350 units, maybe 400, with an AUV of around 700,000. We're currently we probably break 1,100 units nationally. I don't know, give or take them a week or so.
Wow.
And our AUV is well over $1 million now.
So you said your father was a franchisee. Had you had experience in that type of a store or a restaurant up to that point?
Didn't. He was a franchisee for Meineke Car Care.
Okay.
He's since left that. He didn't think that was the industry for me, which he's right. It's fair. Mm-hmm. Restaurants work well for what I enjoy and what I do. And yeah, it worked out that way.
So you didn't have any experience in the restaurant industry prior to that?
No, I did not. No.
So what were the early days like when you first opened your first Smoothie Cafe?
When we first opened, I was there every single day, open to close for months. Several of those months I didn't take a paycheck because the sales weren't there yet. Then after a while, I found some shift leaders, and I would still open and be there until 5 or 6 p.m. And probably the first 9 months, there was not a day I wasn't there. And then as we, you establish management and you grow, but that's why, if you live in the business, you understand all the ins and outs, and those moments still carry today, even as I obviously work from home now. And I can work with my district managers, work with my managers, and I've been there. So I know what it's like to do an open to close, and I've washed dishes for an hour, and I've done all of those different things. So it's been a little bit since then, but I still understand the feeling.
Yeah, what are some things that you kind of learned during your early days as a franchisee? Maybe some things you didn't know that you didn't know.
Oh, that's tough. Well, labor control is one. We always look at labor control and cost of goods as our two largest metrics, and if you can control those, you can pretty much control your bottom line, because everything else is going to be, almost everything else, cured by raising sales. So your rent percentage, your electrical, all of that stuff is relatively fixed. Yes, electrical semi varies, but it's a small number. All of that stuff will just go down as a percentage of your sales, as a percentage of your expenses, because your sales are going up. Food and labor control, I've seen franchisees that have $1 million cafes that don't have those under control, and they're struggling to budget because it's more than half of your entire expense. And if that's not covered, then you're not paid. So,
sure.
That's a big one. I think realizing too that, and I can kind of touch on this later as we talk about going through COVID and everything, but pay people more and take care of your people. Like, obviously, everyone says take care of your people, but what people don't realize is the quantitative amount that adds up when you have to rehire and retrain. So if it costs, like, most people are like, oh, I'm not going to pay over market rate. Well, if you pay $1,500 extra a year over market rate, then you're not going to have to replace that person, which is going to cost you $5,000 per replacement or more. So it's just remembering that the more you focus on taking care of your people, making sure your people are happy and paid and doing well and listening, and not listening to you, you're listening to them, you'll be successful.
So you kind of learned those things. Those were valuable for you. When did you know that it was time to add beyond that one store?
I don't know. It's tough. It's not like an easy number to quantify. So when I had the one, we were waiting for the right opportunity, and we were looking at locations, kind of playing with it. There was a franchisee in the market who, without going into all the details, was ready to get out, and we were able to work with that. So we jumped from 1 to 6, and then we sold off 2 of them. So then we were at 5 stores, and then relocated 1. So we were at 4 stores for a little while, and 5 pretty quickly in the Orlando area. And during this time, my father was growing in Fort Myers, so we were kind of separately building our different stores and locations. And then as we merged in 2018, late 2018, it worked. It worked out well. And obviously, we worked with each other's organizations while we were running them primarily separately. It wasn't like I never went down to Fort Myers or he never came up to Orlando. We were still intermingled. But it was just one of those moments where we're like, why are we running 2 different payrolls and doing all these things double? Why don't we just combine it all? And went from there. And then Amazing Brandz developed from a corporate restructure that was worked out quite well.
Mm-hmm. So you learned a lot opening your first store. You did all kinds of things, worked a lot, sacrificed pay, and then you went from 1 to 6. What are some things that maybe you learned in that experience? Growing forward?
Yeah, you have to, I guess, you have to have people you trust. Because at one store, if somebody didn't show up or someone called out or I lost a key person, I could go in and do it. That's all there is to it. We're down a person. All right, I'm going to run in there. No big deal. When you're more than that, that's not an option. If I have 2 people call out, I obviously physically can't be in 2 places at one time. So you have to learn to trust people, and you have to learn to, hiring becomes even more important, as you have to have people that are more reliable and more trustworthy, that are going to take care of your business like I take care of my business. And you have to just get the right people. And as you get the right people, and also, I'm not saying you don't lower your standards. Obviously, the bar is still very high, but you have to understand that some people are going to do things a little different than I might. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just different. So they were like, hey, I'm going to do it this way. And I might be thinking in my head, that's not how I would have done it, but it worked. So that's great. Maybe next time we'll try it that way again. It's just understanding that you have to let go a little bit, and you have to allow for trust.
Sure. So now you're operating 18 with more to come.
Yes.
What's kind of the key to consistency and success among all of those locations? Maybe to keep the brand up to the standard that you like.
Sure. So I communicate regularly, daily, with my district managers. So I have 3 district managers that are in each of the respective markets, Orlando, Sarasota, Fort Myers, and they run their cafes. They go in, we go over details, what's going on. Like yesterday, I had a really good conversation with my district manager from Sarasota. Let's do a rundown of the stores. This is what we're seeing. This is what we're experiencing. This store's really trending up. What's going on that's causing it. And we just go through and work through everything. And sometimes they'll say, this is a problem. What would you do? Sometimes it's, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? Sometimes it's, hey, it's your market. I trust your decision. Go for it. And then they'll take care of it. So it's a matter of just keeping that open communication and not taking your eye off the ball.
You talked about how you worked with your dad to decide what kind of franchise might be a good fit for you. What do you think made Tropical Smoothie Cafe a good fit for you?
So I think it goes to, in the beginning, we looked at where would you not be held captive by your employees? And so with Meineke, obviously I'm not an ASC certified mechanic. If the mechanic doesn't show up, I'm not changing the brakes.
Right.
I can do some normal car maintenance, but I'm not doing some of the more complex stuff.
Yeah.
So in that case, they don't show up, you don't open. Where with Tropical Smoothie, your guy doesn't show up that's supposed to be on the food line. Well, guess I'm on the food line today, and I'll stay late and do payroll later.
Do you think that having that attitude, like, okay, if the employee doesn't show up, maybe it could even, I don't know, it could be like a high school kid who doesn't show up, but then you as the owner show up and you do it. Do you think that, it's kind of out of necessity, maybe from your standpoint, but do you think that kind of sets a good example maybe for the employees who are there?
Oh, absolutely. It does. It shows that you're just as invested in it as them. And even today, so sometime I walked into a store, I was just doing a pop in just to say, hey, I'm in Sarasota. I was checking on the store we're building, wanted to say hi, see how everything's going. And there were 2 soccer teams. The game got canceled. They all came in. We're staffed for a normal day. So there's 4 people there and there's 60 customers in the lobby. And I'm like, okay, hold on. The district manager was already on the way. I threw on the gloves, jumped on. I was like, where do you want me to help out? And I helped on smoothies and it took care of it. So it helps that you can dive in and they show that you're not, I would never walk in and be like, oh, I'm not doing this because they're understaffed. It's not how it's done. You have to be able to get your hands dirty a little bit.
Sure. So you've added another brand, I believe, to your portfolio outside of Tropical Smoothie Cafes, or you're in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
So Another Broken Egg, it's a brunch concept. It does have a full bar, opens at 7 and closes at 2 p.m., which is kind of a nice little perk there. We are still very infantile in that stage. We have the licenses signed. We're looking for a spot. It's just for our first spot for the brand, we can't miss. We got to make sure our first location is, absolutely the best spot in the county, and that's what we're doing. So I don't really have as much on it. It's a great brand, but we just don't have anything opened yet. So it's a good venture to move to.
When you're looking for the right spot, what kind of goes into that thought process?
So when we're looking for spots for Tropical Smoothie, we look at proximity to colleges, high schools, gyms, parks, obviously your businesses, medical facilities, hospitals, everything that brings in walk-in traffic, people that typically have a healthier lifestyle. So people that are, we have one store that's right behind a gym. They leave the gym, they come straight to us. Near schools, you'll get schools that kids will just walk over after practice, after school. They'll ride their bikes, pick up smoothies. It's knowing where your customers are and trying to get as close to them as you can, which the benefit of that is we have some stores that I would say are right off of that main road. So it's not the store you see driving down the highway and you're like, oh, wow, that's a great spot. Well, there's a premium for that spot. We know that, but we know that if we can be just a touch off of it, we can save a ton on our rent and we really don't lose any traction because we are not a niche brand, but we have a very specific customer base that finds us essentially. So we don't need to have, the big sign off the side of the interstate because just trying to grab anybody that goes by, because that's not our typical.
Mm-hmm. What went into the decision to expand beyond the tropical smoothies?
Well, just looking for other opportunities, something to diversify a little bit. Obviously, we're good with restaurants, so sticking with restaurants, I think full service could be exciting and new. Obviously, alcohol sales are one, it's fun, and you get the profitability on alcohol, I don't think everyone kind of knows that it's there, but you don't have the same risk levels of, say, a bar where you're open until 2 a.m. I don't think that people are causing issues at noon for brunch.
Right. What is it about this kind of, Tropical Smoothies is a restaurant, and then moving more into, full service restaurants. What is it about that industry that's so attractive to you?
Well, it's not necessarily simple, but it's not really, I guess it's a more simple industry. There's complexities to it, but overall, food's simple. You want quality food served quickly, friendly. It's the overall, how to create a satisfied customer isn't rocket science. And like cars, there's a lot of factors to automotive and all of that, but with restaurants, good for us, healthy, quick service, smiling faces, and you've got a happy customer.
Great. Hey, so one more question for you, but first, tell me how people can find out more information about your Amazing Brandz.
So we do have a website. I probably need to update it now. It's been a little bit. I monitored kind of, but obviously with everything with Tropical Smoothie, it's on the Tropical Smoothie website. We are a franchise, so obviously all of that details. Amazing Brandz, our locations are listed on there. But as a franchise, all the true information is going to be on the actual franchisor website.
Okay, sounds good. Final question. When you go to Tropical Smoothie Cafe as a customer, what's kind of your item of choice?
So that's tough. I always do an island green or a detox island green. And I usually add like B12 or something into it. Just, it's a good, healthy smoothie, get my vegetables in. And then food-wise, my managers will say I always get a quesadilla, but my favorite is actually probably the Chipotle chicken flatbread.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Oh, I had one more question. How did
of course.
How did COVID impact you and the operations?
So it's interesting because obviously COVID shut down a lot of brands, but with Tropical Smoothie, we're already 75-80% to go anyway, and we have drive-thrus. So when dining rooms were closed, it didn't really change much. So we were able to keep going. We obviously had our sales graph looked like this. So during that major dip, we talked to our managers and we said, we promise we'll take care of you, but we're going to have to increase your hours a little bit until we kind of start trending back up. 90% of our managers worked extra hours, put it in, and then those that really stepped up, we bonused them out once sales turned back around. We gave up to 2 weeks pay, just thanks for stepping up when we needed you. And we really have thrived through it because I think it introduced a lot of people to the brand because, people that were going to other sit-down restaurants wasn't an option. So they tried us out and we know I have a good product. So they stayed.
Having to add extra hours is different than what most restaurants experience.
Yes.
They had to drastically slash hours. So I guess that was probably a good thing too.
So we did have, depending on the market, different stores behave differently. So it was a reduction of hourly staff temporarily. And by this, I mean only 5 weeks. So it's not like a long-standing process. About 5 weeks where we had to cut a lot of hourly staff, and our salaried staff kind of made up those hours a little bit to fill that in. And that's what we did. But that was even that time period was only 4 weeks. And at that point, we were scrambling and doing everything we could to hold cash and still paid all our bills. We had a few landlords give us some rent abatement. Others we did not go 30 days past on any rents that we had. We did wait until they asked to pay it just because we wanted to hold cash because we didn't know how long it was going to last. And we came out stronger.
Okay. Hey, Andrew, thanks so much for your time today. It's been great to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.